Hey friends, how y'all doing? This is Sabrina, aka I Am She. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my channel. How you doing? Welcome to my channel. This is a little something, something. But I want to talk about my journey, how I was first diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, what medications I was taking back then and what medications I am taking now. You may see me reading from my journal. This is my very first journal when I was very first diagnosed. Lots of information, lots of feelings in this journal, lots of history in this journal. So I'll start off by saying in 2007, I was diagnosed with having obsessive compulsive disorder, chronic depression, anxiety, and during that time I had lots and lots of paranoia. So you may be asking yourself, what is OCD? Okay, so OCD stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. OCD is a disorder of the brain. It's described as a neurobiological disease. It is considered an anxiety disorder, and it is also a chronic illness. So, with obsessive compulsive disorder, you may be asking, what are obsessions? Obsessions are thoughts, impulses, or mental images that happens without you wanting them. They cause you lots and lots of stress. These are the thoughts that I was telling you guys about. They're rude, they're prejudiced, they're sexual, they're everything that you can think of. Those thoughts. And so they cause you lots and lots of stress because you're thinking like, why am I thinking like this? What is wrong with me? And so some examples of obsessions that I would have is I really had an obsession to germs, contamination, to harm, to check, recheck, double check things, even though you hadn't used those certain items. For some reason, you just have to do it. Like it's almost a bully over you. Of course, I had sexual thoughts and sexual images. So compulsions, they are repetitive behaviors or mental acts that decrease your anxiety. But it's only short term. So the compulsion, the only one that I can think of that I had to do every single time was the Lord's Prayer. So just imagine me having a thought. The thought pops in my head and I'm trying to get rid of it. And the only way for me to get rid of it is to recite the Lord's Prayer. So I would be in my head something like this. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on it. Exactly like that. Over and over and over and over again. It's very stressful. It's almost like you feel like you're losing your mind, like you feel like you're literally going crazy. And if you don't do those compulsions, the thoughts in your head, they just keep going like a record player on repeat over and over and over and over again. Well, during the time when I was diagnosed, I was a medical records clerk. And at that time, we had to put all the different forms. Those charts had to be in a certain order based on, like the history and physical of the patient, the labs, the doctor's orders, the doctor's notes, different consultations. So those things had to be in a certain order. So when a doctor go in to dictate the chart, he or she could find exactly what they needed. In my case, with me having OCD, I would start messing my charts up because I couldn't focus. No matter what I did, I could not focus. I could not focus. So You may be asking yourself what causes OCD. I ask myself this too. So it can be genetics, it can be environmental, it can be low levels of serotonin in your brain. There is, it is still under research what causes OCD. It's still questionable. And so you may be asking, is there a cure for OCD? There is not a cure for OCD. The medications that you take or that I take reduce your symptoms, but they don't take it away. So it's almost like having a cut or a scrape and you just put a Band-Aid over it for a little bit, and then eventually you're gonna have to change that Band-Aid again. It's kind of like that. And even though you have the Band-Aid over it, that wound or that sore, it still hurts, right? Same thing with OCD. So even though I'm taking my medication, I may be cooking, I may be watching TV, I may be at the grocery store, anywhere. I'm taking my medication, and all of a sudden, you can be anywhere. It can come out of nowhere, and thoughts just start popping, like popcorn in your head. The thing about it, though, is obsessive compulsive disorder. It takes your concentration. You no longer can focus. You can't concentrate. You can't think of anything else but doing your rituals or doing your compulsions to combat these obsessions. Like, it's so stupid. And so I was also diagnosed with having chronic depression. I still to this day, and ever since it's been triggered, like almost, I'm about to cry, don't cry. Even though it has been almost 16 years, my depression sometimes still gets the best of me. And since COVID, post-COVID, y'all, during COVID, post-COVID, and still to this day. So I just have to be careful what I'm feeding my mind, what I'm feeding my spirit. Lots of things trigger my depression. Holidays trigger my depression. My mom and dad birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day triggers my depression. And if I be honest with you, sometimes my singleness triggers my depression. So I just constantly have to fight through it. So friends, I was also diagnosed with having anxiety, which honestly I believe, thinking back over my life, I think back over my life as I had anxiety then. And I think that it's just based on my upbringing and different childhood traumas and different things of that nature. And I've never outgrown my anxiety. And during the time when I was first diagnosed, my anxiety was horrible. And so when I first went to the psychiatrist, I cried most of the time. And then after that, when I was able to get out what I was feeling, what I was going through, he automatically knew. He prescribed me some some medication. So in the beginning of me being diagnosed, he diagnosed me some clonazepam, which is normally treated for anxiety disorders. He prescribed me for some fluoxetine, which is the generic brand for Prozac. And he also told me over-the-counter vitamin, which I did, just so that my body can get all the different things that it was missing in foods and things of that nature. And so I did. And I know I wasn't going to be able to get through this video without crying. And y'all, I still have my authorization from 2007 when I first was diagnosed. Still have my journal with all of my prayers and all of my sayings, and I talked about my feelings. Tell you that it's not easy. It's not easy battling mental illness. Because a lot of times you have triggers and you have to learn how to manage those triggers. You have to learn how to control yourself. And it's very difficult at times. So still to this day, I still take fluoxetine. And that's used for my OCD, my Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, to keep the thoughts and the compulsions at bay. Works most days, but when I get under stress, it comes back. I do take hydroxyzine. Hydroxyzine is used to treat my anxiety. And I take bupropion, is used to treat depression. And after those 3 medications, I do take a vitamin D, and I do take a women's daily for women that are 50 plus. I just made 50 in January, so but friends, I just want to say, you're not alone, and I cannot say this enough, that you're not alone. Because just like I'm telling you, I'm reminding myself that I have to constantly say, Sabrina, you're not the only one going through this. Sabrina, you are not alone. Sabrina, never give up. Sabrina, you are amazing. Sabrina, you are healed. Sabrina, you are enough. It's a constant fight. And for me to talk about it, it brings back so many emotions, so many thoughts of, it takes me back to that dark, deep, dark place where I was screaming and I felt like nobody could hear me. It takes me back to that deep, dark place when I almost took my own life. It takes me back to that place where I felt worthless. Because during the time that I was diagnosed, during that time I was a wife. This was my second husband, and of course I had my 2 children, Brittany and Braylon. I love you guys. And I had my dog, that was God sent. Um, so I also believe in therapy animals as well. My dog helped me out a lot during that time. But I just I just really gave up on life, and it was so hard to live in silence and to know that it was such a stigma attached to even talking to anybody about this. I didn't understand it. I've never heard of some of these terms I was going through. So it was a dark moment in my life, friends. Very dark moments. But I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, God never took his hand off of me because he knew 16 years later I would share my story and be walking in my calling and walking in purpose. And so when I think back, I'm so grateful. I owe God everything, everything I have. So that's why it's important for me to share my journey, to share my testimony. And for the longest times, friends, I did not want to do this. I was begging God, please do not use me. Please. This is so embarrassing. This is so shameful. Do not use me. I don't want to be put out there like that. But as I think back, I told God at the beginning of this year, 2023, I'm willing to take your hand and walk my calling. And I know that I can't do it without him. So God, I owe God everything. Everything I have belongs to God. My life belongs to God. So friends, I did write me a scripture for depression because I still battles with it. So that's one thing that I try to do is write down different scriptures or different positive sayings that can help me through my day, my week. So anytime I come in my office, I get to see all these different positive affirmations or scriptures or things like that to myself to be a reminder. So I just want to tell you that you're not alone. Keep fighting. I know it's not easy. Keep fighting. Give it everything you got. Fight with everything you got in you. Because life is such a precious gift. And so my card for today says depression. It comes from Psalms, the 34th chapter, the 17th through the 18th verse. And it says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. So this is what I have today, friends. And I'm going to end the video right here. But I want to tell each one of you all to take care of yourself, seek help, talk to a friend, talk to a loved one. Super important to take care of your mental health. Because when your mind and your brain isn't right, your whole body's not working. Just know we'll get through this together. Be encouraged. Keep fighting. Never give up. One day at a time. Positive affirmations to yourself. Take your medications. Talk to your psychiatrist. Talk to your therapist. Be open and honest about your feelings and what you're feeling. That's all I have for today, guys, but I'll see you guys in my next video. I'll talk to you soon.